You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. What up, me? It's your boy, Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. Woo, do I feel better? I had the week to rest. New York Comic Con kicked my butt. But I also had the pleasure of just hanging out, even if it was momentarily, with the homie I'm about to bring on. This person first appeared on my very podcast 3 years ago when it was just a startup, you know what I mean? Things were just beginning. And 3 years later, I think everybody knows about the Global Comix brand. It is on a global scale, no pun intended. So let me introduce the CEO and founder and my friend, the one, the only, Christopher Carter. How you doing, homie?
Al, oh my God, it's so great to be back on the show. Thank you for having me yet again. I'm so excited about this.
No, I love having you guys on. Anytime anyone from Global Comix is on, I mean, it's an extreme pleasure because it's like me seeing someone grow. So you see the neighborhood kid grow up, and it's like, wow, you guys came on 3 years ago with the idea, and it was just starting, and to see where it's at now, and you know, of course, the latest development, that expansion of that dope Global Comix app. Well, oh my God, guys, listen. You don't need no other app once you go Global Comix. You know, it's like that, for real. You know, but before we get into all that amazing goodness and we get all that real time, you know, just tell us a little bit about that fire that has kept you going from those, you know, from that first time I spoke to you to now, Chris. What's popping, bro? What keeps you going and developing this amazing platform you have?
You know, there was a moment, I think, in the middle of last year where our growth got to the point where it was just kind of self-accumulating more than any effort that we kind of put out. And it was that feeling of, okay, we're kind of touching on critical mass. And I had this realization in that moment where, and I remember sitting here with my wife and I was talking about this and I said, you know, it no longer feels like this is my platform anymore. It feels like this is something that the community has taken on and invited into their life and is now propelling itself on its own with or without my involvement. But it's not owned by me, it's owned by the community. And just seeing that reception and being able to be supportive of it and seeing those folks grow and over time, you know, be able to say, oh, I found so and so many more readers, so and so many more, you know, it's just such an inspiration. And especially having real-time access to that on Twitter or in Discord, or, you know, like being able to chat with folks and kind of hear these firsthand comments on how we've helped, you know, what we're done, what they appreciate, what we can improve even. It's just so inspiring. And so really it's all thanks to the community that we've gotten so far. And it's all thanks to the community of where we're going to go too.
Well, listen, I mean, it's always a pleasure for me to speak to creators, you know, sometimes, you know, in the green room before or after a podcast, when I ask them questions about where they put their stuff. I'll say that about 85% of them have said, oh, yeah, I got my stuff on Global Comix. Those that have told me, you know, any other platform, like, why not Global Comix? You know what I mean? Because you guys are definitely doing something different. So, all right. So right now, you got this app, right? I mean, and it's amazing, folks. Let me put this on screen while we talk about this real quick. You can download that app on your Google Play Store and iOS Store today. Now, we'll be playing, all right? But talk to me, Chris, from the heart right here. What sets the Global Comix apart from every other digital comics platform?
You know, it's... Well, first, I don't think I ever speak not from the heart, which is...
I know you always do. But I want you to come... I almost want you to start crying here. Like, you know, go in deep with me. I mean, because I listen, I love Global Comix too, and the creators, but I want to hear from the man himself, man. Like, what is
you know, like... I can't speak to the firsthand, conversations that goes on with other businesses or with other platforms, and why they make their decisions in the ways that they do, right? Like, and I'm sure that there's some amount of accurate assessment that I could make as an outside observer, just kind of looking in. But I kind of wanted to do something very different from that, in the sense that we want our community to know exactly what our values are and what we're working towards. And so we've created this platform entirely as a creator and industry first kind of tool that is really centered around, we will be successful if the people in our community and our ecosystem is successful. And we lead with that in every conversation and with every decision that we make. And so I'd like to think, at least based on the feedback that I've gotten so far, that becomes visible to the public, that our intent and our intentions and our values are something that we can put on our chest and wear with pride, and go out in public and say, we're doing this because of this, right? And I think once you start coming from that perspective, it becomes infinitely easier to actually have conversations and communications in public about stuff, because then being transparent is so close to home that you don't need to worry about what should and shouldn't I say, right? Like because everything is always, no, we're doing it because these are our values, these are our goals. And I think the other kind of, if we look at the app's product itself perspective, we designed it from the ground up to be able to support discovery of, not 100 publishers or 10 publishers, not 500, but tens or even hundreds of thousands of creators and publishers across the different types and archetypes of series. And so kind of by taking that as a starting point, it placed a higher burden on us for being able to aggregate enough stories in the first place, right? Like we didn't come out with an app for a very long time for specific reasons. But what that actually allowed us to do was create a discovery mechanism, or a suite of discovery mechanisms, and a suite of brand experience and app experience that really lives into that vision, as opposed to needing to later on retrofit. Oh, we have too many creators. How do we make that visible? Right. So it's those two kind of guiding principles, I'd say.
And talk about the technological side of it. So how did you figure out that type of search feature, if you will, and to allow so much? Because as it stands right now, I know there's there's probably a small number, but there's over 45,000 releases of comics, manga, and web comics across all genres that are consistently growing. You built a simple search engine, as you stated. What was it? What made you unhappy from other joints that you said, nah, this is how we're going to do it?
Well, it's kind of like, I feel like most of these content platforms over indexes on any one of the three main core discovery vectors, right? Like we look at it from this angle of you have choose your own adventure, right? Which is your search and your browse and your filters, and you can say specifically like, oh, I only want stuff from indie creators that is anthropomorphic and includes time travel, right? Like that's choose your own adventure.
Okay.
There's two more channels, and I'm sure you'll recognize this next one very heavily from most other apps, which is personalized and recommended for you, basically, right? And Netflix is one of those, and YouTube is one of those where it's entirely programmatic, right? Like there's not a lot of human element in that aspect. If you look at YouTube also, for example, and to some extent Netflix, they don't give you a lot of options in choose your own adventure either. And the last piece is kind of curated by us, right? And this is where I think we take the biggest deviation for how other folks might approach it, which is that we're not just looking at, what do we think is going to be the most popular, or just kind of just driving folks to like the really small group of currently, trending or whatever. We take a longer term view on how do we make sure that folks that are new and coming into the platform have an opportunity to be surfaced by us, and how do we do curation and kind of staff recommendations that span the whole spectrum, right? Like folks that recently came in or might be newer to the comic scene at the same time as bigger publishers and webcomic creators and manga creators, all have their own separate streams for us to curate and kind of push out into. And the combination of those three for us seems to be working very, very well. And as a consumer of our own app, I constantly find that I have something that's really interesting for me. So with in this call, a sample size of 1, it's working great.
Oh, beautiful. So just let's get into a little bit of the geeky side. Hopefully you can elaborate a little bit here. So what is the technical architecture of the Global Comix app, and how does it handle that content delivery efficiently?
So, it's entirely API powered, right? Like it's interfacing the same servers as our website. Our tech infrastructure on our web is kind of a modern Kubernetes style tech thing, which basically means that we're not running directly on hardware. We're running on virtualized hardware, which we're hosting with a service called DigitalOcean. There's a suite of different services that goes into that. Like there's database, and there's web nodes, and there's background workers, and kind of like these types of things, as well as nodes that serve the API requests from the app. All of that really is technical jargon for saying the apps connect to our server. We know which version of the app it is, who it is in the app, and we serve back what's supposed to be served to that person. That said, the entire home experience in our app, and maybe I can show this if I bring it up on screen.
Oh, please do. We're going to get geeky, folks. Everybody get your drinks and your money out.
The entire home experience of our app, which you can kind of see here, that has all on publishers and webcomics and manga and indie in the top right, is driven by a CMS. And so our content and community team and our curation folks can at any one point add and remove sections of content in the app for every single stream. And what that essentially allows us to do is, without ever needing to do an app update, we can change out the lineup, and we can add and remove, and we can run a lot more agile when it comes to our content promotion. On my other screen here for a sec, I'm going to go in and just kind of go into our admin section and show you what I mean. In that, if I go to the home here, we go down, we scroll, and we see new from Boom, and it goes kind of best from Top Cow. I'll temporarily.
You landing these big publishers too, Chris. Whoever, I love it, yo. Everybody jumping on board because they know where it is.
There you go. So now I've temporarily enabled another section, and you'll see there's this app demo from when we did the walkthrough of the app is now actually sitting in here again. Okay. Right. And so really it's kind of giving ourselves the right tooling in order for our teams to live into the values that we put ahead, and then just kind of aligning the entire organization against that is the way to go, man.
All right. So can you share a couple of insights into the security measures in place for Global Comix app to protect user data and content as well? Because you're going to have users, you're going to have content creators uploading stuff. So what's the type of security measures are there to make sure that their content is protected?
Sure. So if folks have a paywall up, it is impossible to get access to any of the files that were uploaded and convert it into desktop and like phone access versions, unless you have a subscription. And all of those URLs, like let's say you're used to a website and you right click an image and you say copy image URL. That's not going to work because those URLs, we should call it, are uniquely signed and cryptographically secure. So you can't really just copy paste and share that to other people. But separately, we have a suite of defensive mechanisms in our tech stack that allows us to, one, kind of identify if there's stuff that came out from our platform, where was it that it came out from, and who did it come out from, right? Like, so we have this hidden layer of metadata that kind of goes into stuff. And the other part is really kind of protection on the network side, right? Like being able to have an encrypted connection between your app and our servers, and us being able to invalidate those keys on demand plays heavily into our strategy of making sure that, like the stuff that's on our platform is only served to people that it should be served to, and not just ripped and put elsewhere.
Fantastic. Protecting the community. So let's talk about community just for a moment. Can you discuss the interactivity features of the app, such as commenting on comics and how they enhance the reading experience?
Sure. Let me pull that up. So
yeah, maybe there we go. Yeah, it's
there we go.
Hey, I love it.
So the community features as it stands right now includes engagement, likes, reactions, these types of things, and comments, adding to library, and being able to follow and subscribe to upgrades from creators and publishers. And when you do follow and when you do kind of subscribe, we now have this notifications-based experience where you get alerted, right? So when people publish stuff and you're following those folks, that'll show up directly in your notifications, as well as things like comments and releases and things that are more relevant to your account specifically. Now, in this case here, for example, you can see there's a notification I got that someone had replied to something that I'd commented on. And you can see, all of the comments right here in line.
It's its own social network for comic nerds.
I mean, it's getting there.
I'm digging it. So since we're here right now, can you tell us about the merge release feature? How does it work, and what advantages does it offer to creators and readers?
Sure. So merging releases kind of came out from this idea that you might need to make changes to what you published before, right? And we were thinking about, well, if we allow people to just make a lot of changes and kind of create new update alerts, that's very abusable, especially in the world where most recently updated is a way of discovering stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Because then you'd have those folks always end up in the front, and we saw
an abusively algorithm, brother. What?
Yeah, that too. We saw some people, doing that in various different places, and we heard a couple of other needs from creators, right? Like folks that are, publishing maybe 1 or 2 pages at a time, or folks that maybe they split up their books into 4 installments, and then now they have 4 different releases, right? And so how could we support them and kind of giving a system that allowed them to combine the different small batch publishing into their collected issues, volumes, graphic novels, omnibuses, whatever, right? And we did that with the thought that if we make a tool that allows people to merge, but there's a downside, and the downside is you lose the history of your analytics because you're kind of going to a new book.
So the book is closed when you do this change.
They're not going to abuse it, right? Because then it's all set around, okay, well, I have this intent and this is the outcome. So I'm not going to just merge release every single day with a new page, for example. So it creates a little bit more value around what is the tool and what is the service without it creating too much risk on how can this be abused for folks that want to, play the algorithm or whatever.
And I know this is a big topic, amongst creators. So I gotta ask here again, just for clarification, so everybody knows why they gotta get down with Global Comix. So how do you handle rights and ownerships of the comics that are hosted on Global Comix?
Creators own and retain all rights. We really primarily only take one.
Wait, say it louder for those in the back, Chris.
Creators own all rights.
That's right, baby.
Yeah, no, we only carve out one set of rights for ourselves, and that's the ability to use some amount of folks' content to promote them and us. And so it's a win-win relationship. The moment you take things down, it's no longer available on the platform. And we can't like sell access to or sell PDFs for stuff that has been taken down. And it's very much the same way that you can, control ownership of stuff that you post on YouTube, right? Like once it's down, it's down.
Okay. So how you guys handle updates? For example, any details on the integration of new technologies and or standards in the app's development that enhances functionality, and how does that affect me as a user? For example, if you're working on something, there's an update, or I might get interrupted at any point in time.
You might get an update notification for the app. This is still an early period of time for our app. We officially launched it 2 weeks ago. And
yeah, so baby. I know it's just a baby. Look at you, 2 weeks old. You're still breastfeeding it right now.
Very much so, right? Very much so. And to your point, you're probably going to see more forced updates around earlier on than once we get into a little bit more of a mature environment. And a lot of that is because, we're even though we had a month worth of beta, we didn't have fully enough time to iron out all of the kinks, and some of the more esoteric crashes that we're seeing on folks that are on, potentially older devices or devices with less memory or these types of things. We're just kind of making sure that the experience that folks have when they open the app is as good as we possibly can. And so,
a big shout out to Richard over here, Richard Dury, and to my man Pops over the Madness Comics Network. Now, brother, in terms of global reach, how is Global Comix expanding and just bringing the comics to a wider audience? How are you handling that growth and that marketing on that worldwide scale to make sure everybody? Because I know you guys got massive international creators too. Because again, you be finding gems on Global Comix that that are not traditional books that you would find out there in the wild normally, especially here in the States.
Well, there's a very good piece of news that I can share. We announced earlier on this summer, that
you got gossip.
we announced earlier on this summer that we raised a round of financing from Point72 Ventures and Endeavor and a couple of other folks. And the biggest focus of that fundraising was going to market, right? Like bringing the app to life and being able to actually spend behind marketing campaigns and spend behind awareness and spend behind distribution and partnerships and all these things. And we've spent the last quarter or so really just kind of working through what does that roadmap and all of those initiatives look like. And we're started as of 2 weeks ago now, actually spending against it, right? And so I can tell you that right now, as per today, I checked this morning, the amount of new readers that are coming into the Global Comix community is 5 times higher than what it was 1.5 months ago when we launched the beta.
Of course, once you put it on this, it's a wrap, man. Everybody now down. They got tons upon tons of books from a variety of genres, publishers, creators. Niches, niches, whatever everybody wants to pronounce that. Tomato. it's dope. And again, it's tablets, it's the phone, it's everywhere. I mean, you guys are smashing it. All right. So just so you guys are also aware, yes, this is all new business. All this digital app, it's fire. But for you creators out there as well, they also have print, correct? The GC press service for creators.
The print on demand is currently being worked on internally. We're kind of mapping out the implementation of what that might look like. I don't have anything more to share other than that. But it's one of those things and I think this is the most important thing to say when it comes to print on demand, and that is that we need to make sure that whatever physical product that we offer for sale that it is something that lives into the quality expectations of the consumers buying it. Otherwise, there's no point in doing that service at all. Like, it has to be done really well.
And knowing you, Chris, I know you're all about that and making sure that everybody is 100% happy and satisfied with the end product. Like what you guys are doing Global Comix. Again, seeing you from 3 years ago to now. I mean, you obviously guys were working on it before. I only got to meet you 3 years ago, the honor. And talking about hustling, guys, I was at New York Comic Con, right? I was talking to a creator, chit chat, and I just felt this energy, this workout energy. And I turned around, it's Chris and his partner chilling right there behind me. You know what I mean? Wonderful. And then we ran into Omi again. No, I ran into his partner first, and then I ran into Chris upstairs in the press room. Why wonderful energy. You know what they were doing out there? Hustling for the creator, making you guys aware of this amazing and wonderful platform. I mean, enough respect to see CEOs hustle the way you hustle. Because I saw both of you handing out cards like y'all were handing out dollars at the club. You know what I mean? It's like, what's going on? Global Comix. Salute that
so much warmth right here, right now. Thank you.
Nah, but and that means a lot. But again, you guys are great. It's friendly, and you guys are about the community, about comics, and I see what you guys are doing. Again, just seeing the rise. Again, folks, I mean, to be able to comment about your favorite books, get access to over 45,000 and more. It's probably like a million now. In 2 weeks, over a million. They killed the server. They got so much stuff. I mean, the fact that you could put it, view it on so many platforms, the fact that creators and publishers win here. Again, Global Comix is a creator-friendly platform. Creators and publishers could publish for free, all right? And the majority, 65-70% of the subscription fee distributed among the owners and the content read. I mean, how dope is that? How dope is that?
Doing right by the creators, doing right by the community.
The Global Comix Omniverse. That's right, baby. Talk about that sign behind you. We're talking about the Omniverse, baby. What's this?
So we were at San Diego Comic-Con this year, and this was pre our app launch. Right. And so, we're like, all right, well, let's test a couple of these floor signs. Let's see what it actually ends up looking like when you print it out in large form.
Yeah.
And so I was working with our design team and our marketing team. And I also kind of said that, and don't worry about, don't worry about it needing to be reused. I need some branding in the background when I'm on podcasts. And so here we are.
There you go. It's still a work right off because it's being used for work. So we're talking about the amazing brand that is Global Comix. And folks, I mean, I don't want to say too much more because it's time, because homie is a busy man. He's smashing it worldwide. But this is what you gotta do. They're all over on social: Instagram, X, Meta, Global Comix with an X, folks. All right. Of course, you gotta visit them at their website, globalcomics.com. Again with an X. Don't get it. The links are below. I'm gonna help you with that. Don't you worry. But most importantly, this is the most important. Pick up your phone, pick up your tablet, go visit your app store right now and download this app. Believe you me, this is a Comic Crusaders authority approved app over here. If you're a fan of indie, Premiere, listen, you saw that. He teased. I tried to ignore it, but again, he was like dropping names. I needed a broom. He got great publishers on this platform right now. It is fire. So, bro, before we go, what other exciting updates and developments can users expect from the Global Comix app in the future?
I think the two things that are the most relevant to folks and the ones that we see the most feedback and kind of requests for are the following two. So while we have a panel-to-panel based reading experience in the app, we're aware that the configuration and setup of the panels takes a little bit longer time than we want, and so we're working very, very diligently on some tooling that allows us to make that much more of a delightful and quick experience, which in turn will allow us to turn around and offer, this panel-to-panel based reading experience for a much, much larger, let's call it, selection of books in our app and in our ecosystem.
And you're stable.
And the other one, which shouldn't come as a surprise to most people, is offline reading. We are definitely working on offline reading, and we're definitely going to have a way for folks that are going through airports or going subways or places with low connectivity or don't want to use data to be able to use the app and to enjoy comics wherever they are.
And before everybody goes, again, one more question here. The last one, I promise, Chris. I don't want to keep you that much longer. So when people want to get down with the app and have full access to the app, to all the books, the good stuff and all that goodies, like, what is it? I mean, is it a subscription rate? How much is it? What tiers do we got? What we got?
To access all content on Global Comix, there's a single payer subscription. You can pay either monthly or yearly. On the website, those prices are $7.99 and $89.99. In the apps, both iOS and Android, it's around $9.99 and $109.99. And I've seen actually, full transparency. I've seen people ask, why is it more expensive in the app than on the website? And the honest answer is, so the creators don't make less money because someone came in through the app. There's a 30% Apple tax that they take in transaction fee.
Oh, yes. Oh, dude, salute to you, my brother. Forward thinking and making sure that creators, because that Apple tax, you ain't lying, bro. That shit is a hefty one. So thank you for even 30%. Being mindful. Yeah, that's no joke, bro. Why so much? Jeez. It's all right, Global Comix. We got to make the Global Comix phone. That's only a comic book phone. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, we'll just take over the entire world of all hardware and all experiences, just one by one. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know. Listen, it's the Omniverse. They're gonna make it happen, baby. Taking over one app at a time, one platform at a time. I love it, Chris. Thank you again for your time today. I appreciate you, folks. One more time, check out all these links. They're below as well. Click away. Support indie creators. Support independent businessmen like this that are just changing the game, for this wonderful business. And I'm telling you, from my own eyes, I've witnessed the hustle and the love that these men will get at New York Comic Con and just handling their business and just being real dudes, yo. So again, thank you. Salute to you, Chris, and everybody at the Global Comix family for what you guys do. Mi gente, thank you for tuning in. Again, Global Comix is where it's at. And you know what else is at? At Comic Crusaders, baby. Check out the website, comiccrusaders.com, and the rest of the family. Art Crumbs, absolutely, yo. Of course I'm going to be having Chris on. That's the man, all right? Hasta la próxima, mi gente. Much love. Wepa!
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.com and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.